Hey everyone, welcome to British Business with Matt Holland, and I'm joined here today with my co-host Charlie from Workwear Innovation. How are you, Charlie?
I'm all right, thanks, Matt. I'm not too bad. Surviving, probably not thriving.
Well, you've got to survive to thrive. That's what they say.
Yeah,
and I've
you
been
have,
told I've got to smile more apparently, so I'm going to do my best to smile.
That was me.
Or was you were talking about yourself?
No, I was actually talking about you. I just said, give us a smile tonight. Give the people what they want.
Bless you. So
there it is. There's one.
So if you're listening in, you might not have seen it yet, but if you're watching, you'll already see it. We've got a third person on the episode this week. So before we introduce him, I just thought me and Charlie could have a bit of a natter, which we have done. I think we've done enough of that already. And I wanted to jump straight into it with British Business Fact of the Week, which is specifically curated by my good friend ChatGPT around the topic of the guest, or around the industry of how would you say it? The industry that
the guest operates in.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, thank you, Charlie. That was hard.
I'll go now. Won't get any better. My input won't get any better from here. So let's I wrap it up now.
Have you brought your pom poms ready to cheers? Great work. So, less than 5% of clothing sold in the UK is net. Sorry, let's start again. Fuck it. Oh God.
And action.
Right, cut. Cut. Yeah, we'll start again. Less than 5% of clothing sold in the UK is now manufactured in the UK. Blah. Should we do third attempt? That was embarrassing. Oh, this is great. I'm not editing that out. We're filling the time actually. We're 2 minutes in already. This is great. Less than 5% of clothing sold in the UK is now manufactured in the UK, down from over 30% in the 1980s. I got it out. So basically, we've seen a massive decline in the amount of clothing that is manufactured in the UK.
And how sad is that?
It is quite sad, I think, when you think about how we've been. Oh, the third person did a cough. You're not allowed to say anything yet, though. Just hold on.
It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah. But it's quite sad actually, because we're such an industrial country. Like Britain, for centuries, we led the charge, and then we've kind of taken a big step back in that area.
Am I right in thinking we led the charge in textiles as well?
We did, yeah. We did, big time, yeah. Textile mills. Well, actually not far from where I am. A lot of textile mills are in the northern powerhouse. It's changed a lot, though. A lot of the gear that we sell and a lot of the gear that you sell, Charlie, is made in the Far East. So how times have changed, I suppose, because a lot of it used to be made over here. So we have got Jacob Lockwood on from Lockwood Smocks. What? Just introduce yourself properly, Jacob, because I've butchered that a little bit.
Yeah,
here he is.
I'm Jacob Lockwood, soon to be a veteran still serving soldier and founder of Lockwood Premium British Smocks.
That was it. I missed out the premium.
You've got it there.
There we are.
That was slick.
That was slick. That was a very good introduction.
That sounds like a man has had to introduce that a few times.
Yeah.
Well practiced. I love that. Everyone asks me what I do. I don't have a Scooby-Doo. I need to go and write that down.
Well, we actually clock in each day.
Yeah, me and Charlie chatted about that in last week's episode about how we introduce ourselves, which is quite funny, I thought, because it's like I sell stuff online, and then it was quite funny. But anyway, so Jacob, you mentioned there that you're in the armed forces. That'll be quite interesting to a lot of our listeners, because obviously that's very different to business. And I think there is some transferable skills, but I mean, we've used the analogy of like tank positions and like retreating positions when we've chatted in the past, but maybe if you could give us a bit of a context as to your current experience.
That tank position thing we were talking about. So I'm an anti-tank soldier by trade within the Coldstream Guards, which a lot of people think is, the red coats and fluffy hats outside Buckingham Palace, but it is an infantry fighting regiment first and foremost. And I specialise in the anti-tank platoon. And within that, when you're going and setting up a position for fighting, you have a primary position, a secondary contingency, emergency, primary, secondary, alternative, contingency, and emergency. And I said it's much like that in business. I think, right, what are my primary, secondary, contingency, alternative, and emergency plans? So that's the sort of my sort of bit from the military. But I mean, the business world is just so flipping different. But what I do say is it just prepares you for the everyday of you do not know what the hell is going to happen, and being able to adapt to that. You know, at the drop of a hat, and you know, like certain things that have been going on for me. Usually in the army, if it's bad, it's all bad. It's not like massive highs and lows in the same day.
Yeah, I think that that kind of ability to pivot or the concept of pivoting is something I think very important to business owners, which is a skill in its own right, and being able to kind of adjust on the fly. It's something that you have to become good at. I mean, Charlie, in your business, do you have a primary, secondary, X, Y, and Z plan for the day to day? The kind of, how much planning do you do?
You're taking the piss out of me. I don't even know if I got a primary at the moment.
Well,
I definitely haven't got a secondary, tertiary, emergency, and a standby one. That is for sure.
Well, I don't either, to be fair.
My primary line of attack is just to try and sell more, because I feel like all my issues can be solved if I sell more.
That is very true.
That's it.
Yeah, that is a very good basic strategy. But yeah, a reasonable one. So, Jacob, before we carry on ridiculing Charlie, sorry, Charlie. I like it. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a pivot in its own right, leaving the military. How many years have you been in the Coldstream Guards for?
16 years, you know, almost half my life. And this week is my first...
You don't look old enough, buddy. You don't look old enough.
Yeah, thank you. It is a good camera, though. I've recently upgraded. But this is my first week fully with no military work. I've got to go back in about 2 months' time and do some final administrative days, but that'll be in civilian attire. So I had my last day in uniform last week, so this week is my first full week as a civilian.
How did that feel?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't really feel any different. I think because I'm just so into like, right, what do we need to work on? What is not going right? What is going right? So I'm just not. It hasn't even really registered. Like I drove back last week from my last day in uniform. I was up in Scotland doing a couple of months' work in Scotland, and I drove back. I walked in the door, got hit with a bombshell, and then went on to my Wednesday waffle, and it was I didn't even really celebrate that last day. Almost, it was just boom on to the next.
Well, pause on that bombshell. We'll keep some suspense because it'll be interesting. Because I think you've been very transparent with your Wednesday waffle on Wednesday last week. It was quite interesting, but I think very real, and it shows the challenges of kind of being a business owner and how much having a business can impact your personal life, etc., etc. But just taking a step back, going back to the British Business Fact of the Week, what are your thoughts on the fact that we've seen a massive decline in the amount of clothing produced in the UK for British people?
You know, when you said that, my instant thought, genuinely, I just thought, what an opportunity. Because it's, wow, only 5%. And we used to be doing 30. And it's... I really think we're at a time now. People are wanting to do, you know, support that homegrown. I mean, you only just need to look out into what's going on in the news and everything, and I think there's a real big push for people wanting to support our own economy. I mean, the big movement of supporting our farmers, you know, and I think if I'd have tried to do what I did 5 years ago, I wouldn't have had as much success as what I am doing right now. I think I've just happened to stumble. Like the stars have all aligned at the exactly the right time for me.
Because I think like the gear that you are selling, like I've got an item, I've got a gilet that I've invested in because I think it's an investment. I think they're nowhere near price comparison to some of the gear that I sell. It's a much more premium price point, but you're investing in something that should last potentially longer. So I think I would agree there is a bit of a shift in terms of like people want to buy more sustainably. And then what you're saying is people are becoming maybe a little bit more patriotic in the sense that they want to support British produce, British food, but also British goods, perhaps.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Charlie? Do you think I mean, your game is very transactional in the sense that people, they are buying on price and quality, but I know for a fact you won't sell anything British made. We sell barely anything British made.
No, no, definitely not. I think a lot of our stuff is very much price point driven, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of this thing is B2B, is the B2B market. You're looking at how someone can get the maximum use out of a box full of clothes, a box full of t-shirts, etc., etc. How can they make that work within their business? And I think there's lots of businessy reasons why people are not interested in that sort of thing. And to be fair, I was going to ask you, Jacob. I think where does that whole, in your opinion, where does the whole made in Britain kind of not stop, but where does it become a point where people are, okay, I can't really do that? Does that make sense? A bit of a put that very poorly. Is price a real driver in the decision making that someone makes when they come to buying something that's made in Britain?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more the feeling that people get out of that purchase. They're thinking this money's staying in our economy, and that is a message that I really get across on the social media. And I think that's where people want to support it. But then in your world, the workwear, I mean, let's be honest, it's the person that's buying that is not the person that's wearing it. They're buying it for their staff, aren't they? And it needs to suit a purpose. Whereas my stuff it's people are buying it to wear it to go out and look and feel nice. It's not a utilitarian piece. Whereas the military side of stuff that I do very much is that. But then there's the old saying of the military ain't a fashion show, which is sort of said tongue in cheek because everybody wants nice Gucci kit. So it's like, I'm hitting into the market of people buy it because they want some really good quality, nice looking things, but then feel good about themselves.
Sorry, go on, Charlie.
I was just going to say, I think you hit the nail on the head there. For me, it has to be, if you're going to sacrifice ultimately cost, then the thing that you're buying has to be of good quality, doesn't it? Yeah, I think that's the same in any industry these days. I think as people's purse strings become squeezed, I think what people are looking for, they're still looking for those experiences. They're still looking for those days out. They're still looking for those events or social occasions, etc. But what they're spending their money on needs to be of a certain quality for them to feel like it's worth their money. Do you know what? Does that make sense? And I think obviously with the stuff that you're selling, it clearly is. Do you know what I mean? And I think from our point of view, we see loads of people that are asking for better quality. It's not always about the cheapest item. People are looking for value and they're looking for things that actually perform well.
Yeah.
I wonder as well with this kind of topic and I think we forget the UK is actually still a very affluent country. There is still a lot of wealth in this country. And I think what has maybe happened partially, and I'd be interested to hear Jacob's thoughts on this, but I almost think like a veil has been pulled over people's eyes. And they've been sold brands which don't align with like traditional British values, and kind of we've almost been told not to be patriotic in a sense, but they've had the disposable cash and money, but they've been buying Italian brands, they've been buying American brands, when in actual fact there is a consumer, and I agree with you, Charlie, I think it's hard out there, especially for businesses and things like that, like so your customer and some of my customers working farmers, it's hard. But there is a demographic that if they're buying a product, they are willing to pay a premium price tag, and it's pivoting that customer away from buying Italian stuff that's finished in Italy over to British made goods. And that's the thing that when I heard Jacob's episode on James Sinclair, and we've obviously been introduced afterwards. But I really resonated with that because I'm passionate about us supporting British business. That's why I do the podcast. But also, if you can support like British job, it's just I love the concept in a way. So yeah,
And it's without going down the politics side. It's to manufacture in Britain, we are the most expensive. I think it's something ridiculous, like 3 or 6 times more expensive, or one or the other, to run a factory in the UK compared to Europe and the US. So it's while ever that is a fact, the British goods are always going to be more expensive. Um,
yeah,
and it's difficult, isn't it? But exactly what you just said then, it's bringing people over to we've got luxury high end companies in Britain, and it's trying to get people out of that consumption mindset of thinking, and because people are becoming more conscious, not buying loads but buying higher quality items and making them last longer. And again, that's where I think I've just hit it right, because I mean, I wouldn't be able to. One of my main issues is restocking. So it's, I'm kind of at a good point in that I'm just going to grow slowly, because I'm going to have to bootstrap us
yeah.
to growth.
Just a question for Charlie, actually, because I think before getting into like the business side of the brand and the business that you're building, but just to take a step back, like Charlie, do you just as because it intrigued me this really when I've said it to Jacob before, but what is a smock, Charlie? Are you familiar with what a smock is?
Not really, no.
No. So
I think it must. Is it something to do with farming?
So I'll tell you what. We'll do a definition each. So Charlie's definition of a smock is nothing.
A big coat. A big coat. A big thick winter coat.
Yeah, say it in a southern accent. You're good at accent. No, I'm joking.
Big thick winter coat.
Yeah.
That's what he was after.
Yeah,
My big thick winter coat.
For me, it's a pullover waterproof. That's my thing. But when I asked Jacob, he gave me a bit of a thorough definition, and obviously linked to his military experience. But go on, Jacob.
A smock, in its most basic terms, is just the military definition of a jacket. But they were first coined in World War II, and again, there will have been the sort of pullover jackets, but then they added the full length zip with the two ways. For soldiers in World War II, i.e. paratroopers and people of the ilk. And then that has just kind of stayed.
So it's
I
almost
called it Lockwood Smocks.
So the term smock for you is almost like a slang word for a jacket in a way, which I suppose if your brand grows, you could redefine the definition for people like myself and Charlie. That would be the goal, really. So I thought it was quite interesting because a lot of people don't know what a smock is. That's why I wanted to.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question then? What was the first product?
It was a Brecon smock. So it basically, like a lot of these sort of companies get started, I got sick to death of being cold and wet in the army. My current air quotes for people listening, waterproof smock, had failed me. So I just thought, you know what, I'll just design something myself. I've designed all my own suits, and then I actually had another business where I designed and patented a Kazivac stretcher, which eventually it hasn't really done much. So I knew that sort of world. So yes, I decided to design a waterproof jacket that was absolutely bomb-proof, would last years, wouldn't let any water through, and was British made. And because I took my time with it and was really staunch on I will only manufacture in this country because it's a bit of a side hustle, I don't need a rush. But because I did that, really built them solid foundations without even really realising, it has just taken off.
Brilliant.
It's fascinating. I think it's bold and hard. You're up against it. If you look at the statistics that I chucked out at the start, you're doing something really, but that just because something's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I think I do believe if you can get the marketing and branding right. And for people that are listening as well, check out Jacob's Instagram, which is is it just Lockwood Smocks if you search that?
Yeah, Lockwood_Smocks on Instagram, Lockwood Premium British Smocks on Facebook, Lockwood Premium British Smocks on YouTube.
And I think the Instagram stuff, like you do this Wednesday waffle, which I think is great because it's like from the start, it's all going on YouTube. There's like a little episode each week, and it's real and it's raw and it's hard and it's not easy. And I think your customers who are patriotic about the UK and want us to succeed as a country, but also they'll connect with you and your personality and they'll want you to succeed. And I think it's just great. It just shows a bit of community as well, I suppose. But
yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Jacob, you mentioned then, you said like you didn't have to rush with it, so you didn't have to rush with the design, etc. Do you think having your job is more key than you give yourself credit for the success of this brand? I'm just thinking, the decisions that we make when we start a business, we're hustling, we're trying to generate cash, and I think we make a lot of our decisions based on generating cash quickly.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have? Do you think the Made in Britain thing would have been as big had you been in a position where you thought, right, I want to make a Smock, but I need money as well. I need money fast.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at that. I could have just had it done overseas. I'd have probably saved myself a hell of a lot of stress. But I don't think in the long term. I would have been able to grow the business as big as what I'm going to be able to if I'd have not been fully British made right from the start. So I've seen some sort of country brands who are starting to try and pivot into British made. And I think where their identity wasn't that at the start, it kind of hasn't really worked for them. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think just on that, like I don't think I'd kind of disagree with you slightly. I think going offshore for product actually might have been more challenging at the start to a certain degree, and the reason why would have been minimum order quantities and shipping costs. And actually, because what you're doing at the moment, I think works really well for a small independent business because you're able to replenish on a little and often basic. I know there is still minimum order quantities, but and because you're also able to go and visit the factory, you've been able to get your hands on that. And I mean, tell that story about the wool gilet, the green wool gilet that I've got that's yours, because I just think that's a great little story, which I don't think would have happened if you'd gone the other way as well. So in a way, it's been easier.
Do you mean when he just bought a load of the fabric because he saw it and thought, yeah? So basically, I've got a really, really good relationship with my factory. I mean, they like all of the people in the factory follow my page, and anyway, and I think another factory was closing down up there, or fabric manufacturer, something like that, and he got an opportunity to buy a load of this fabric, which was, a bit discounted. So I walked in and there was 6 massive bloody rolls stacked up as tall as me. That's how it was, one by one, 3 on top of each other. And I'm 5'8" and they were above me. So you can imagine how much it was. And he's like, yeah, Jacob, I saw this fabric and I had an opportunity to get it. And if I didn't get it, somebody else would have. We could make some really cool G-Notes with this, couldn't we? I was like, oh my God, Pav, what have you done? And he's like, I'll just make up a sample. And to be fair to him, he did. And my God, they were flying at Christmas.
Was that the start of the G-Note, or you already had one anyway?
Oh, yeah. I'd had quite a few by this point. But that, for me, I think that just goes to, like, the relationships that I make. The guy in the factory off his own back, not knowing whether he was going to get an order off me, bought a load of fabric to say, look, I didn't want to miss this opportunity. How great is this going to look?
That's class.
Bloody heck, he was right.
That's class.
But you wouldn't have had any of that if you had been buying offshore. So it's kind of, there's pros and cons, isn't there, at the end of the day?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
No, I'm not belittling the hardship and challenge. I'm just playing devil's advocate, I suppose.
It's
So
sometimes when I see people, when I see people jetting off to like China and wherever source, I'm like, I'm a bloody stuck my flag in British made. I
I
wouldn't
like
mind
it.
going on a little fact finding mission out of China or somewhere. It looks really nice.
Yeah. So just taking a bit of a step back to like the first from the idea of a smock to kind of getting it to where it is today, where like I would say you define like British entrepreneurship and British small business. Like I think you literally the demographic that I started the podcast to hope people would listen to this, but then also you are the beating heart of entrepreneurship in this country. But whenever you start a new endeavor, you make lots of mistakes. So I've got some. I'll tell you a story first about my family business. So Malcolm, when he started with Holland's Country Clothing, he used to go to army surplus sales, and he once bought something like two and a bit thousand pairs of army shorts, but they were actually army skirts, and misread it on the auction. So little mistakes happen early on in business is the point. And like, what's the road been like for you that you've trodden so far? Have you been able to navigate issue free, or what's it been like? Has it been challenging?
Oh my God. Flipping heck, how long have we got? I suppose, like everything, thankfully, I've made one manufacturing mistake, and I learned very quickly from that. And I just didn't do my correct homework with someone. So I ended up with 250 polo tops that were all pretty much the same size. And they were like, almost cut for females wearing high waisted jeans. So I put the first one on and I was like, oh, that's a bit short. What's going on here? And then I got another one out of the packet and I was like, can you smell cigarettes? And I was like, it's this jacket, it's this top. And basically, I'd just been absolutely ripped off. I still suspect they were done out in Turkey or something, but the lady
Yeah.
swears blind they were done in Britain, but in Bradford. But so that was a bloody tough lesson. And then from that, I then got told, well, have you looked her up on Company's House? Have you? And I looked, and she'd had 3 companies dissolved in the last 2 years, and I was like, yeah, red flag there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
that was,
I think we're all guilty of presuming the best in people. That's the problem.
yeah.
I think like British people, it's like a British trait that we presume that people are going to be reasonable and do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my manufacturing mistake, and then I had one with the marketing agency stuff that we've spoken about quite a bit, and finally, I found the perfect one, I think, just due to what they've managed to do for me this month. But yeah, I mean, I signed with 2 agencies. One I was cold approached by. They, give me a lovely presentation. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then little did I know they were just idiots, and they spanked our month budget in a couple of weeks, overinflated their results. And yeah, we just had to stop them. And then another one that I was actually recommended to did the exact same thing, but on a far greater scale,
Christ.
to a point where they spent my whole month budget in 10 days that I'd agreed to, and then swore blind that that it had been agreed to, and that screwed us for basically Q3 big style, because then all of our ads we had to restart, reset, do it all ourselves. And that hit me like a gut punch when I worked that one out that day.
It's not easy, is it? This whole business thing, like, but the thing with it is you would just presume, having been in the military, where I would presume people do what they say. Maybe not in the modern British military, but I would argue for the most part. I think typically my understanding is like we get on with it. Do you know what I mean? But in business, there's a lot of people that promise the world and deliver next to nothing. And
Them sharks walk among us, and they look like normal people.
Yeah, it's just not kind to do that to a small business. So, yeah,
No,
not good. I mean, I've worked.
What's your?
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say I've done similar things. You have to kiss a few frogs, and I've kissed a few agencies over the years. I think on this podcast with Tom once I slandered Dark Horse to a unrelenting level, who I've worked with in the past, and like I've worked with Mabo Media. I've worked with all kinds of people who, quite frankly, are average at best. We've got a good agency at the moment, and they are an agency, even though they say they're not. Bless them. The guys at Pay Per Click Response, but yeah, it's hard finding good partners. 100%, it's not easy.
Yeah, it is. What do you think your biggest mistake this last year has been, Charlie? Or well, not this last year, but last year. Do you think, is there anything that sticks out to you where you think, flipping hindsight, I wish I could have reversed that?
Which one you're going to pick, Charlie?
My mistake or regret, same thing.
They're two different things.
I think regret is probably more powerful, isn't it?
Well, I think they both tie in quite well. I think we should have moved earlier on recruiting more people into our business. I don't think we.
You were kind of working.
Go on.
I was just going to say, as in you mean you were working with not enough people.
Yeah, we've been doing it for too long. We're very family orientated. Tom's mum come to work for us. My mum come to work for us. We employed my grandma for a bit. My dad does some driving. We employed Tom's brother.
He ran out of family members.
We ran out of family members for a while, but we were on this like 11-month high of, some continued growth and some decent numbers, and we probably should have gone earlier because it would have allowed us to then fill generate some more leads and generate that funnel that actually means that it wouldn't be quite so tight with the new people now, which is what we're currently facing.
I agree with you, Charlie, but I disagree because I think in business you do have to take it to the last minute and then recruit in certain
I think
things.
we took it to the bloody last minute, Matt. I think we took it beyond that.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you're saying, though.
We spoke about it. I remember driving back down from Scotland much earlier in the year and talking to you about it, and we I think we agreed to disagree, or you kind of said, no, I do need to recruit, but you didn't really fully commit to it because I think you wanted to be busier.
Yeah, I think I wanted it to be busier at the time when we went. So just so that like cash flow in it would have been a little less stressful. I feel like we've been doing that for too long. I think come to the conclusion that actually we're going to be doing it for a lot longer. So anyway, so I probably should have done it in the first place. But what it allowed us to do is really go and then focus on generating new leads and building up that pool of people that we could then rely on and then we could talk to going into this period now. So I think that's not moving fast enough. We were always good at it before. Like when we first started, we bought our first multi-head machine too early, didn't have enough work for it. Employed Tom's mum, didn't have any work for her. Employed my mum, didn't have any work for her. Bought another machine, didn't have any work for her, and then we stopped.
Yeah, you should.
And we just used what we had. And we just worked. We worked as hard as we possibly could to keep growing, keep generating more. But we just stopped staying ahead, and that's the bit for me that I do regret. I think that's a mistake. I do think that's a mistake.
But then it's you've almost, like you said, you burnt your fingers a couple of times there, doing it too early, and then that's made you too overcautious. And it's like you can never do right.
No, you can't. I don't think so. And not if you haven't been through that stage of growing a business before. Like this is still my first time. I haven't completed anything. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what right looks like. So I've got nothing to rely on apart from my own thoughts and feelings.
Well, that's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all like. I think we're all on the same path. Do you know what I mean? We're just at different parts. And my challenges this last year has been, I think I was thinking about it as you were talking there, but consistency of output. And part of the challenge that I've faced is my job role within the business has changed, and that's taken serious. I've had to evolve and change myself in the last 12 months because I was all over everything all the time, and I've had to let go a little bit and draw back and take a step back from the day to day. And I found that really hard. But But was it a mistake? There's definitely been mistakes during that process where I probably stepped on people's toes a little bit too much internally within the business. And then when I talk about consistency as well, is consistency of my behaviour. I've made mistakes of my, I suppose, attitude and tone and support towards my team. I've been a little bit inconsistent at times. And maybe that's due to stress and pressure, perhaps, because I'm having to now deliver without using my own hands.
Yeah,
I'm
can't fall back on you to make it work, can you?
I used to love going, right, I'll flex in, I'll do this, I'll go on the tools, I'll do that. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. I have to deliver results via other people, which is like another layer of difficulty. I've not done it before to the level that I need to now, and it's hard. But that's business. You evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it's like when you're getting to that point, you're getting to the sort of size where you then need to just rely on your team, putting your managers in place and stepping back and working on the big ticket tasks.
Yeah.
How many people are there out there to guide you on how to do that?
No one.
Not many, because they're all bloody busy.
Yeah,
because they're all bloody busy.
Well,
aren't
and I think unfortunately in this world, there's a lot of selfish people out there, which saddens me. I think if you can, and this goes out to everyone listening, if you can help another business owner out by telling other people about their business or doing those little things, it does make a massive difference to people, 100%.
Or just listening to them.
Yeah,
listening. You know what I mean? It is a lonely place to be most of the time, I tell you.
Well, listen, I think it's important to listen to people, but also call them out on the bullshit, because sometimes I think people like to have a whinge and a moan and blame other things than actually take accountability in themselves. Why are you looking over your shoulder?
You talking about me?
No. Why are you paranoid, mate? No, my point being is I think we all need to be accountable at the end of the day, and I think you can hold yourself to account, but you need to hold your peers as well. That's 100% the thing. So listen, we've been chatting for 36 minutes already, and people drip off, and what I want to do with this is I want to split it into two parts. So I think we've done a nice good little intro to Jacob. That's going to come out on it's come out today because you're listening to it. So it's a Monday, and this next
it did, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out today. Yeah, it did, and the next part where we're going to go into a bit more detail, because we all know who Jacob is, but we're going to go into a bit more about scaling the next 12 months, where he's at right now, a little bit more nitty gritty of like what are the problems right now in the business, and then where he's going to be in 12 months time. Maybe have a bit of a chatter about his goal setting as well, because we know how important that is to me and Charlie.
Yeah, I'm smashing them, already.
Good.
Well, that's it. You've got to set those goals if you want to achieve things. Very, very important. So,
how are they going for you, Charlie?
I've misplaced my book.
Yeah, listen, we'll come to...
I thought I had them written in here, but I've picked the wrong book up.
Listen, don't stress. Right, guys, make sure you check out Jacob on Instagram. Make sure you follow his brand, and make sure you support it as well, because it's British, and we are a British business. So let's support him. Drop a comment if you've got any questions for Jacob or Charlie. We'll get them both back on at some point in the future. But check out the next episode that comes out on Wednesday, where we'll go into a bit more of the nitty gritty right now with Mr. Lockwood. So we'll see you on the next one. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Bloody right alive. God bless. God save the King.